On 98.4 FM and TuneIn app, this is Scotland's #1 community radio station.
Subjects that you think about but never talk about.
The universe,
Black hole,
religion,
police brutality,
the Big Bang,
free energy,
interstellar travel, council-informed relations,
Nikola Tesla,
music,
alternative news,
and much, much more.
Remember, follow us on Twitter or on Facebook at The Fiery Scots.
Good evening and welcome along to the Fiery Scots for another Sunday edition, but a special edition.
This is a special edition. Tommy Sheridan is with us tonight. Big shout to everyone who's managed to get tuned in. It's just gone 9 o'clock. Be sure to spread the word, spread the message. He will be in very, very soon.
He'll be in shortly, yes, in about 15-20 minutes time, so stay tuned.
Sit back, relax, get the popcorn out.
Here comes a massive hit.
Yep, here comes a massive hit. Perfect to get us going. So Fiery Scots, Pulse 98.4. That was DJ Medi. Signature, Thomas Bangalter. Believe I got that correct, hopefully.
A lot of our songs seem to be a huge mouthful.
Very tongue-twistery names we seem to come across.
Yes, so no, that's an absolute screamer, as usual, as we always try to provide for you. Hope
All
you
sorts of
enjoyed it.
dance music, all sorts of jazz, folk, you name it, we cover
Hip-hop.
it. Soul, hip-hop. It's here, it's the Fiery Scots, and you're tuned in. It's Sunday night, just gone 9:05. How are you all doing? It's the main event. We've been building up to this one for ages, and I personally know of a lot of wee parties that are going on just now.
Yes, I do.
A lot of wee kind of
Radio
meetups,
listening.
radio listens. It sounds a bit old-fashioned. Like,
It's kind of like the old days.
we'll go and sit down in there, listen to the radio. But that's the way the show's got tonight. There's so much hype about this tonight. It is, of course,
Why?
Tommy Sheridan is on.
Now, if you want to get involved with the show and ask the man himself a question, you can do by texting in 075 38 984 984. That is 075 38 984 984. I don't even need to look at the number anymore.
You don't? After
No.
2 years?
After
Can you
2
believe
years.
that?
Is it 2 years?
I don't know.
It's a year odd.
Well,
It's a year odd.
you're odd.
But, I mean, a year odd
We've came
turns
far,
into 3
we've
years,
came
doesn't it?
far in
That's
a
it.
year and a bit.
And we've not had many guests, but we've had a couple. And tonight is notably our most famous one.
Yep.
And it is Mr. Tommy Sheridan.
He's probably listening in the car on the way in. I'll check these guys out. See what they're
See what I'm getting myself into.
See what they're giving it. See what kind of patter they've got.
But we were actually at his talk today. It was a kind of Yes campaign thing today down in the Clyde Bar.
Clyde Bar in Helensburgh.
In Helensburgh, quite close to us as well. So we got a chance to go to a kind of Yes rally. I've not been to many, been to a few, and some of the stuff we have ended up, I've ended up talking at that whole Monsanto thing we did.
What was it, the Monsanto thing in Glasgow?
Aye.
You grabbed the megaphone and started
I grabbed the megaphone,
That's-
so I was doing my part.
That's the game.
That's the
As they say.
That is the game. So Tommy was down there. He had some.
Blown up. It's blown up the phones.
You get texts already.
The phones are blown up. Look at that.
What we got?
Right,
Before he gets in
I need-
here,
I
because
need-
he's
I
here
need-
in five,
I need
10
to
minutes.
check these.
We're going to be asking him all sorts of questions, and of course, the main topic for this evening is going to be independence. Why should we have it? Where will we go? Here's hoping we get. I mean, shouldn't say that. Sorry, I coughed my throat there. Hopefully, he's going to clarify things for people, because if you haven't seen his independence video, obviously don't watch it right now because you're tuned in live to the biggest show in all of Scotland, and maybe the world. I know there's people across seas listening in tonight.
Oh, yep.
Whether that be family, friends.
From Barhead to Barbados.
That is it.
It's all
Preferably Barbados to Barhead. But Barhead to Barbados will do. So Tommy is, of course, is coming here tonight, and he's coming on for an hour, and we're just going to have a chat with him.
About all things, nothing too serious, but a chance to get our questions across, a chance for us to get some questions that we have perhaps been talking about over the last few months, building up, kind of talking about things regarding independence on the show. Everyone who listens to the Fiery Scots show know we take a good interest in what's happening in Scotland and politics in general. So
absolutely.
On the build up to September, it's something that everyone should be thinking about.
Well, I mean, it is Scotland's biggest decision. And I mean, not only that, I think one of the most important things of tonight is we all have our Yes badges on.
I know.
Which,
I don't want to seem to come across too one-sided on the old radio, but, well...
We've got our yes badges
They've
on.
got our reasons, but personally speaking, but at the same time, we're going to get someone on from the opposing side.
Absolutely.
And we're going to get them on. Same
Still
same
working on
structure.
that.
same structure. And we'll do the same thing, and we'll get their kind of answers to the similar questions we're going to give Tommy tonight.
It would be too biased to just do one side.
Absolutely.
Of course,
I don't think we'd be allowed.
And it is a big decision for our country's future, not only our own. And I think that's the fundamental message we're going to try and get across this evening, is that it's a collective responsibility going independent. It's not anything to do with anyone's egos or, for singular reasons. It's got to be as a full nation, and to try and find out the benefits or not, the pros or cons.
The pros or cons, that is what it's all about, and this is why you come to the Fiery Scots every
media.
Sunday night from 9 until when? 12 o'clock.
12 o'clock.
12 o'clock.
Midnight. A good time.
Working tomorrow, but who cares?
As long as you're
We're
sleeping
providing.
before the day ends.
Aye, yeah.
You know what I mean? And the day ends
say
right
that.
when we end. So that's when you should be sleeping. So,
What the weekend ends when we end. Is that what you're saying?
aye.
Okay,
And
so-
I think before we get all serious and debate style, your birthday is actually tomorrow, but we celebrated over the weekend going paintballing,
We did.
and that was an experience and a half. Thoroughly,
It's one of the ones, like, I know a good
thoroughly.
few
I
people
don't know why I said thoroughly.
that we've always spoke about going.
Absolutely.
Like, oh, we should go paint. It's like the next stage up from go-karting, it's the next kind of adrenaline stage. You
Oh,
want to go and
definitely.
do it, but we've been talking about it for years. And
We're hitting out with kind of American sergeant. But
Me-
get to secure the perimeter.
Yep. So we went there on Saturday, was it? Delta
Yes.
Force and
We were up at like military time, 6:30 in the morning, 7 in the morning, all met for breakfast and on our way, and it was a cracking night. So I would definitely advise it to anyone that's never been. Is that a few texts coming in?
Just in case Tommy's listening at the minute, right? This is a sort of flavour of the text that we get on the Fiery Scots, right? A no voter said to me earlier in relation to Scotland's ability in harnessing of renewals. Quote, you might want to check Google because they've cancelled the turbines and hydroelectric, unquote. Wet. Capital
Google?
letters. Rat-bat. That's the...
Rapper.
Rap it.
How could Google possibly do such a thing? Computers are saying hello there.
They always seem to do that.
They do.
But that's thanks for the text there. Of course, you can get a text in if you want. Give us your experiences.
Google
and
have got some control, don't they?
They certainly do.
Shutting down
Actually,
wind turbine
there's a
farms.
wee,
I don't think
a
so.
wee thing came out there about Yahoo, Google, and someone else saying they reserve the right. They reserve the right to read users' emails. All of them.
They don't reserve the right to read mine.
Well,
I don't
let's
remember
face it,
saying yes.
If you hold a smartphone in your hand, you're pretty much.
You're buggered.
You're pretty much.
That's it. You're already getting watching. See, the whole thing is it came out about the Xbox. It's a spy tool. Or that the spy tool's already been here
know,
for a long time.
You caught me with that one the other day. You're like, I was playing a new Xbox. It was unbelievable. That. And I'm like, what? That's spying in you.
Exactly. Spying's already.
But it's already in the
It's
pocket.
kicking about.
That,
and,
that reverse camera on your phones. Certainly, if there's anything that's going to spy.
and microphones. I mean, soon it'll just be drones everywhere, flying in, bombing. Doesn't matter. You know, if you've got oil, that's one thing. One thing a no voter has said to me. You know what I mean? Well, if Scotland have got no defence, I mean, what we gonna do? And I'm like, from what? People might invade, because England won't want anything to do
It's
with
almost
us.
like there's a.
So that's bias.
People think that we need the protection. What if we end up in these wars and we've not got the US to protect us? But protect us. But it's not.
But we could. This is the kind of thing what we're going to get into with Tommy.
Exactly.
So I
Of
think we
course,
should
look,
save our energy.
We're actually we're chapping at the bit here.
I think we should get some music on in anticipation for Tommy's arrival. We've got some nice music lined up.
Yes,
and by the way, we're going to talk about this a couple of times tonight. The project tonight that what we're doing is being filmed.
Right
and
now.
it is brought to you by Creative Entertainment.
Are you on Facebook, guys?
Yes, they are. Just type in
Type it
Creative Entertainment.
Type it in right now and give it a like. Is that a like page? It's a like page. Get on that. The guys are filming it tonight. So, of course, as well as the usual podcast, we'll get a video of it up on YouTube as well. So make sure you check that out. Creative Entertainment.
Absolutely. Etienne Kobwabo, the mister, used to go to college with him. Great guy.
Yep.
And we were saying the other day, we've not been keeping in touch as much as we should, so this has been a good chance. So make sure you check out his page, like his stuff, share his stuff. He's winning all sorts of awards recently, so nothing but the best for the Fiery Scots in
Nothing
here.
but good things are about to happen to this guy, so
Yeah, exactly. So
get on it.
That's it. Get on his
on
page.
it.
So we'll mention that again throughout the thing. But
Of course we will.
until then, let's get some nice music.
Now, yeah, of course, I've got a wee request. First
Oh,
request
do?
coming
Oh,
in.
that's exactly it. If you've got requests, please send them in.
This one's for Lee Gibson, who's listening at Dumbarton.
Hello,
Patiently
Lee.
awaiting Mr. Tommy Sheridan. He'll be here very soon. It's Michael Jackson.
know that you wanna try. Every time you see
Give me shelter. Just gone 9:20, and Tommy Sheridan is here. Give us a shout, Tommy.
A shout.
Give us a shout.
How's it going? Hey, brilliant. Good to be here.
Excellent to have you, Tommy.
Thank you very much.
Total pleasure having you on board.
Yes.
Marvellous.
Now, we were saying earlier before we came in, we came down to the kind of Yes rally today in Helensburgh in the Clyde Bar. How did you find it went?
The Clyde Bar gig today was I thought excellent. It was mobbed as usual. The questions were very good questions, searching questions. But I think what was marvellous for me was the breadth of the Yes campaign is coming across now. I mean, you had a former Labour councillor, you had an SNP member, long-time SNP member, you had a socialist, former socialist MSP, and we were all on the same platform. And by the way, there was wee nuances of difference here and there, but at the end of the day, we're all for a yes vote. We're all for building a new and a socially just Scotland, and that message is now coming over. And the truth is, opinion polls are unreliable generally, but the one thing that is clear now is the vote is moving towards yes. People are getting the shackles off their backs. They're not being bullied any longer. They're not listening to the garbage they're getting, and they're looking at the possibility of a new and a better Scotland. So that's why we call it hope over fear.
Here. Absolutely. That's. I mean, that was just a taste of what we got today as well, and one thing that being called the Fiery Scots, a lot of people see us and say, he's very passionate about these things. Why do you care so much? And it's just basically, you kind of giving that energy as well to show it's like, it's not just us that are feeling like this. More people have to get themselves involved, especially with the future of our countries.
It's about convincing people our age group. It's about getting.
That's it.
It's not cool to a lot of people. It's the main kind of consensus you need to change.
Well, the only problem is, a lot of your listeners are going to think because you've got young voices that you're quite young, but I can see you're on your late 40s, so I mean,
Especially,
I thought I was going to be able to come in here. No, you're absolutely right. The truth of the matter is we've got that 16 to 25 year age group who are disengaged, let's be honest about it, disengaged with politics, and who can blame them? I mean, when I was that age, I was disengaged. I wanted to play football and chase women. That was life. Who wanted to be involved in politics? Certainly when it's full of chancers who are telling you one thing and doing another, who are screwing their expenses, are taking as much as they can out of the public purse. Why should you trust them? And there's a big job to be done. But this is what we have to get across here. The 18th of September vote has got nothing to do with political parties. It's about the future of your country. This is bigger than any one political party.
I don't know about that Alex
That's
Salmond.
the important.
I'm not sure
exactly.
about that Alex
You hear it all the time.
That SNP
Alex Salmond. Nothing to do with them. There's going to be an election in 2016. Alex Salmond and his party will put their manifesto before the people of Scotland.
Just like every other one will.
Just like everybody else will. And it's up to the people then to decide what they want to do. And you see, sometimes people say to me, do you not go over the top, Tommy, because you talk about it's a vote for freedom. As if we're held under some tyranny. And of course, tyranny comes in many forms.
Absolutely.
What I mean about being free is we're free to get rid of nuclear weapons. We're free to get rid of the bedroom tax. We're free to increase pensions. We're free to increase the minimum wage. We're free to keep free education. We're free to protect our health service. All of these things are possible if we get independence 18 September. See, if we don't, we have got nothing but darkness ahead of us, because the Westminster mob, they'll give us a kicking for daring to try and break
For
them.
even trying.
For even trying. And
leave the
more
mob.
privatisation, more right-wing politics. It's coming down the track. If you can't see it, you're blind.
And that, I mean, that's it. It's just, it's so true, and it's like, again, as you say, you know, it's so hard to get the youth involved, and when
That's what we're trying to do. It's
Exactly.
all of these wee small movements everywhere. See all the wee small movements, like the radio show, like the wee town hall meetings, like that thing in Hillsborough today. All the wee things happen.
They all matter, they all add up.
They all add up, and it's about changing and putting the ideas out there
Well,
to
if you
everyone.
think about it, Stephen, we were talking before we come on earlier about the Kirkcaldy meeting and
Yep.
the Kirkcaldy speech. Now, there's a wee example. I'm invited to do a meeting last month, and the local group, the Yes Kirkcaldy group, I think they had hoped to have a debate. They couldn't get anybody to debate, so they said, look, would you just come along and do an evening with? Went along, and they told me they'd booked this beautiful church, the Bryce church, and they said it holds 300. And I'm saying, well, you know, is that not a bit ambitious? We go along and there's more than 300 there, right? And then they film it properly, professionally filmed by a chap, Colin, up in Fife. He puts it on the YouTube a week later, and lo and behold, 104,000 views. Now, what does that
And
tell you?
rising.
And rising.
It
I mean,
shows
it's
you-
gone
it
up about 1,000 a day.
It shows you the momentum and the thirst for new knowledge and the thirst for someone to actually speak of what actually matters and makes a difference in Scotland. It shows you that, because other than that video, there's not really any others that are standing out for me.
Well,
To be
I
honest with
tell
you, you know,
what,
in terms of popularity as well, you know.
The wee Twitter stuff, I mean, I'm relatively new to it. Somebody got me on it maybe about a year ago, because they said, look, Tommy, you're missing out on the opportunity to speak to a hell of a lot of people here.
That's
I was
it.
doing a show, the Andrew Neil show, down in London on a Thursday night, and there was a guy on who was a Twitter expert type of thing, and he was saying that all politicians, if they want to get to their audience, they have to go on Twitter and all the rest of it. So I spoke to him. He was a rap guy, you know, when he was into rap music and all that. Obviously I wasn't into rap music.
You're obviously right into that.
Well, I'm a Carly Simon and Rod Stewart type of guy, so
Well,
you know,
actually, if you've got any requests, we can fling them on to you. So
absolutely
we'll get something on
brilliant.
for
You're
you.
so vain, it's my song. Anyway, the point is also, First Cut is the deepest, absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll
but
have
this boy says to us, he says, Tommy, you have to go on Twitter, you're missing out on a whole world to communicate to people. So I go back up the road, I got my fire brigade mate, who's good with the computers, Kenny. He came down, set it up for us. 17,000 followers now. So I'm sending messages out, and it's going to 17,000.
You're moving your thumb,
And
it's
you're,
there.
now, I used to always do leaflets and you deliver them and all the rest of it.
Aye.
And I know everybody's on Twitter, obviously we know that. But what other forum could you get to 17,000 people
that's
on?
it.
You know, it's a fantastic forum. And that whole idea of getting the message out there, the one thing that people have said to us about the speech was, Tommy, you explained that this isn't about the SNP, this isn't about Alex Salmon, this is about the future of our country. And they liked that, you know, and that's why it's went down well.
I think what scares me though is the amount of people that still needed explained to that it's nothing to do about the party or Alex Salmon. But if you are opening that door for people to finally get that, then that is great. Like that guy today raised the question about the base and you know, X amount of jobs that are going to be lost. I mean, of course, if that has a knock-on effect, but the problem is it's so much bigger than the base. It's so much bigger than
People
maybe
get caught
losing
up in it
1,000
because maybe
jobs.
the base is something to
Well,
do with their families,
that's
and
it.
they've got, you get that. But the whole thing is, there'll be jobs for other people when the base closes eventually. You know.
If
Well,
you can
there's
transfer these
absolute-
skills.
What I was trying to do with that question, because I had expected it to come up, because
I'm sure
of
it
where
always
was.
does, aye.
And I'd got the STUC's feasibility paper. They'd done a marvellous 2007 paper. They looked into the whole idea of diversification from the nuclear weapons if Trident was removed from the Clyde. And they showed you 1,583 jobs. That's all that is directly responsible.
Country of 5.5 million.
In a country of 5.5 million. But for that 1,583 jobs, they get £153 million a year spent. Now that, in any other walk of life, would sustain about 10,000 jobs, never mind 1,583. So it's not about people losing their jobs, it's about people changing their jobs. It's about people using the skills they've got and putting into energy renewables, energy conversion. The whole idea of using the technology that exists to make us a world leader in energy.
Absolutely.
You know, that's what we've got the potential to do
a
here.
total chance to do that. Total
Instead of
chance to
preserving,
pioneer
as you put it, scrap metal. You know what I mean? We're spending all this money. What to use? If it's used, we're all buggered. What's the point?
You would have heard,
it's backwards thinking.
you would have heard today that the Trident nuclear weapon system is a first strike weapon. It's not a retaliatory weapon, it's a first strike weapon. So see, unless we are going to press a button first, it is the most expensive scrap metal in the world, and that's exactly what it is. We need to get rid of it.
Why would you even want to renew it?
Honestly,
if you've already got it, what do you need to renew it for? It's like,
To make it bigger and badder.
no, because we're a consumerist society already, so it's like, no, we need to buy the new bigger ones now, the better ones, just to scale them off even more that we're never going to use. And all these things get, but now we've got my good man Paul.
Thank you. Very good to be
for us, Paul?
on the show, and very good to have Tommy on.
Paul,
with us
before you
tonight.
ask a question, I'm going to have to say I'm very jealous, brother.
How's
because
that?
for those who can't see Paul, he's got an absolutely wicked set of hair on his head. And those who can't see me know that I've got a receding hairline, thinner than fag paper of the hair in my head, so I'm very jealous of you.
Well, I appreciate that. It's one of the ones. The hair, it's a conversation starter. It always is. It always is.
It must be.
The day was really good. I was also at the Western Battles.
Did you not see the hair? No.
Do you know, I never. I've seen yourself. I didn't see that either, but I seen.
We were hiding down. Actually, we ruined the Yes banner because there's too many people in. Which, as I said, that's quite an old school thing. Yeah, there's too many people. Just get them on the flare. So that was it. Sorry, Paul, what you said?
No, it's not at all, mate. It was really good to see that, and it was good to see the different crowds there as well. You know, it was a diverse group of people. There was folk
Young
who
and old.
for example, people who work for the base and who were in a kind of trade union situation. There was a couple of more outspoken people in the crowd as well. You know what I mean? But it was good to see. There was people at all ages and that, and for all different kind of areas local to the Clyde Bar. It was really good. But and I just think to myself, you're actually starting to see a bit of traction now. Do you know? There's a wee bit that. For a while there, it was as if we're all here batting our heads against the walls and trying to spread the message and get people involved. But now you're seeing all these meetings on the internet, and you're seeing the meetings that you go to, and they're busy. You know what I mean? There's no it's no longer a kind of a worry like nobody's going to go for this, nobody's going to go for it. Now I'm starting to see a bit of
people are actually posing the question now that weren't speaking about it before, and I know we've certainly persuaded a lot of minds.
Well, I'll tell you what, guys. The so-called psephologists, to give them their proper name, those who study all these opinion polls and do all the opinion polls, what they don't actually pick up in opinion polls is a factor which is going to help us. And it's the definite factor. It's the committed factor. Because when somebody stops you at a shopping centre, or you fill in a survey online and they ask you a question, you know, how you intending to vote, right? It's easy, you know. And those who say no, well, are they as committed as those who are saying yes? And I think the fact that we have got something positive to do, our contribution to this debate is positive, it's energising, it's about vision. Their contribution, the No Campaign's contribution, is fear. Negative. We're no good enough, we're no big enough. It's all about trying to frighten the wains. And I think that is something that marks us out and makes us a very good chance. I think they're underestimating the commitment that exists with the yes vote. And I do think the more and more it's been discussed, because see, for political anoraks like me, I've been discussing it for ages, right? But most people, let's be honest, most people are only starting to get into it and starting to think about coming to their opinions, and that's what's important. We are up and running at the time when people are asking the questions, and you know, people say to me, I mean, I get this one all the time, which is probably the weirdest one, and yet I can understand why it's important. People say, but what will happen to our National Health Service? Because the National Health Service is such a valued treasure system. But then you think about it, we already run our National Health Service in Scotland, and we've kicked the privateers out. In England, they've accepted the privateers and they're privatising the health service.
It's the same with the
in
Royal
England.
Mail.
Exactly, with a commitment. Now, it's got to be there in the SNP's white paper. But if it hadn't been there, they would have had problems. But they've given a commitment. They'll reverse the privatisation of the mail service. So we're talking here for anybody. And Scotland is a Labour country, isn't it? I mean, it's a natural Labour country. The SNP have won because they're standing on traditional Labour values. But they are now saying, we are going to protect public services, we're going to stop privatisation, we're going to increase the minimum wage. That's all the things that the Labour Party used to stand for.
Aye.
And that's why I would appeal particularly to any of your listeners who are from a traditional Labour background, you know, and, I wouldn't vote the SNP, I wouldn't vote the SNP. Fair enough, you don't need to vote the SNP. This is not about the SNP. This is about the future of Scotland.
Oh, absolutely, and it's great just to hear it so firmly reiterated. It's one of these things that you find yourself saying so much that you're like, is anybody even listening anymore? You know what I mean? It's no about Alex Salmond and the SNP. But see, while we were talking about the cuts there and the NHS and stuff, I'm thinking to myself, so like the austerity measures so far have been that have been visited on the poorest members of society have been horrendous, to say the least, right? When you take into account the stuff with ATOS and the bedroom tax and the rest of them. But what I worry about is the fact that they're openly, the government, Westminster government openly admits that that's only 10% of the cuts that have went through so far. I mean, what are they going to cut next?
Exactly.
Where are these vicious strikes going to land?
These people are vicious. You've used the
worse than vicious.
You've used the correct adjective to describe them. They couldn't give a damn about us. I mean, you look at them. You've got a cabinet of 29 people. 22 of whom are personal millionaires.
No, they need more.
Now, wait a wee minute. You think about the society as a whole. There is less than 5% of the population are millionaires, but we've got 20. In fact, I said 22. It's 23 million out of 29 in a cabinet. So how unrepresentative is that? These people couldn't give a damn about public services. They don't rely on public services. They send their wains to private schools. They use private health. They don't give a damn about it. And this is a wake-up call. It really is a wake-up call. And it isn't about saying to our brothers and sisters in England and Wales, bugger you, we're turning our backs on you. Because what will happen is, when we go independent and we actually defend our public services, I bet you, see the ordinary punters in England and Wales, they're going to be saying, hey, we want some of that. We're going to defend our services. And our votes, this is another myth that gets peddled all the time. Oh, if you leave England and Wales, you're going to leave them to permanent Tory governments. Every Labour government that there's been in the last 25 years has been without the Scottish vote. In other words, the Labour would have won anyway, regardless of whether Scotland was there or no. So it's not about abandoning people. I hope people in England and Wales will rediscover their desire to stand up and be counted and to fight back. But we can't hold ourselves back any longer. We've got to lead the charge. We led the charge in the poll tax. We're going to lead the charge in independence.
That's it. I think it's just raising awareness, getting people involved, and I think if Scotland end up doing it and we manage to get it, then there's no stopping Wales doing that. Absolutely. I think the inevitable realisation people need is that it's the city of London that is the problem. It's Canary Wharf, it's the bankers, it's these guys down there, because even Labour now, they certainly don't represent the left anymore. It's very centre-right getting. Ed Miliband, they're all singing from the same hymn sheet, they're all having dinners together, they're all, all that. I mean, whether or not they physically are or not, in the proverbial kind of sense. And that's what's happening, but yet, we've got a couple of wee policies here and there that's different, so, we differ. No, they absolutely do not. And I think politics in general just isn't working, so Scotland have an opportunity to go forward with it. And why will Cameron not debate salmon?
Well, I tell you, Stephen, just before I answer that specifically, you think about it nowadays. See when you get the politicians on the telly, see if it didn't have the wee banner underneath it telling you what party they were in, you wouldn't know. You would not know.
Absolutely.
Because they all say the same things, they all look the same.
We'll get the 5,000 suits on that.
It is so ridiculous that we have such little difference in our political parties now. I mean, I don't know if any of you read or listen to any of Noam Chomsky's lectures
Absolutely.
or read his stuff. And Chomsky talks about the manufacturing of consent. It's a marvellous theory where what you do is you actually make politics look as though it's free and it's democratic and everybody has a shot at it. You know, America's the worst. Anybody can become the president. What a lot of baloney. Right, if you're a multi-millionaire, maybe, but anybody can be president? Absolute nonsense. But what they do is they set it up to make it look as if they're all actually fighting with one another, when in actual fact it's like two baldy men fighting for the brush. There's absolutely no difference from them whatsoever. The point is, as soon as somebody steps out that ring and starts to raise public ownership of gas and electricity, why don't we have a higher minimum wage? Why don't we tax the rich? Oh, they're nutters. They have to be brought down. And Chomsky and John Pilger, who's another fantastic social theorist, he makes the point that we don't have gulags. Right, we don't have gulags the way they had in the Soviet Union, but we have the equivalent of gulags because we've got a press that is so pliable, that is so there for the establishment. As soon as you step out of line, you get brought down. They did it to Tony Benn, they did it to Arthur Scargill, did it to Derek Han. They do it to anybody that steps out of line. Right, they destroy them, and we've got to stand up and say, no, we're not taking that crap any longer.
We've got the power.
We're seeing beyond that. That point you made that we've got the power. You think about this. On the 18th of September, that one day, it's no about what bloody Eddie Lizard says or what any Standard Life director says. It's about wee Jeannie for Govan. It's about wee Annie for Easterhouse. They've got the power in their hands. They don't need to throw a stone. They don't need to pull a trigger. They just need to go to a ballot box and they can change Scotland forever.
Simple as that. It's really all you need to do on the 18th of September.
I mean, think about back in the day.
I know, they would be turning in their grave.
There'd have been a message sent around all the towns, right? Send all your fittest men, we need to go and fight for our freedom here.
That's it. No, we want to stay together.
Nah, we want to stay together. Imagine that back then.
Well, you look at the statistics, Steve, I reckon it's since 1945, 142 countries have declared their independence. Not one of them have given it back yet. 142 countries have declared their
Oh no, but we've got problems coming.
We've got the chance to do that. You know, somebody offers you your freedom. Here's the key to your freedom. Why would you say no? I don't want that.
I want to keep
I'm
things.
Comfy in here. Things are all right now. I've got a roof over my head. This is the part of you here. You know, I've got a roof over my head. You get
you get the selfish point of view. Well, things aren't exactly that bad for me at the minute. But when you look at food banks,
what do you care about them in Iraq for? That's that's things like that.
There's food banks here, and as you say, 23 out of the 29 cabinet members are personal millionaires.
How can they know anything about street life or telling us how to run our lives?
You've got a food bank in Barrhead. You've got one in Clydebank. You've got one in Dumbarton. That's right. That's
next to us. That's next to us.
We are the fourth richest nation if you include the UK just now as a nation. Fourth richest in the planet, and 500,000 people now rely on food banks every week. 500,000 people in a country.
There's greed lying somewhere. There's greed.
Obscene, you know, and we have to. At the end of the day, you know, people ask, "Oh, what's going to happen to pensions? What's going to happen to education? What's going to happen to health service?" I'll tell you what's going to happen. They're all going to improve. That's what's going to happen.
Or you're not going to have it if we stay together.
Let's reject this fear factor. There is nothing to fear but fear itself. That's the reality. And we have to raise the hope and the vision that Scotland's going to be something better. We're actually going to put people first instead of putting profits first. That's the chance.
They can't have that now. They can't have that.
The chance to actually tax some of the corporations.
That's it.
If they paid a percentage of what what they owed, then we could totally abolish the things we're even discussing. Well, your food banks
or half the war budget. That's just half it. Don't even fully take it off.
Let's put these guys need this one.
I'm throwing out names here, right? I mentioned John Pilger, I mentioned Noam Chomsky. For any listeners, please Google them and get into their stuff. Another guy you should get into is a guy called Prem Sikka. Prem Sikka is a professor of accountancy down at Essex University. He's done more than anyone that I know to investigate tax evasion across the UK. He has managed to discover that the level of tax evasion now from the rich corporations and the multi-billionaires stands at £120 billion a year. 120 billion. Now, we have got cuts because they say, oh, we need to cut $1 billion here and $1 billion there. See if we actually got the bloody rich to pay their taxes, then we wouldn't be talking about cuts. We'd be talking about what do you want? What investment do you want? How many more new schools? How many new hospitals? How many new nurses and doctors? That's the reality. If these bandits would actually get made to pay their taxes, you go into the buses and what do you get? Oh, we're after you. You know,
we're coming to get you.
We're coming after you. They're having a go at people who are defrauding benefit. If you look at the figures, figures for benefit fraud, the TUC did a big poll and they asked 1,000 people, what do you think is the level of benefit fraud? And the majority of them says, oh, it'll be about 30%. That's what, you know, Daily Mail, Sun, they all tell you, oh, these bloody scroungers this and scroungers that. The actual level of benefit fraud, 0.7%. Less than 1% of the budget. That's the reality of the figures. And yet we've got big campaigns about, oh, we're after the benefit fraudsters. Let's get after the real cheats, the real scroungers, the rich who'll no paying their taxes. That's who we need to get after.
Absolutely.
It's actually a bigger problem, people not claiming.
Absolutely. You know, Stephen, you're so right, mate. The level of non-claiming is twice the level of fraud. That's the reality. The HMRC have given their own figures. The level of non-claiming of benefits that people are entitled to is twice the level of fraud.
See, we've said this, like, and sometimes you've got to laugh. You will just, bust your head open with all this stuff. Like, it's such a crazy, wicked system, but they've got it in such a way it's so amazing for them that people are so compliant with what's going on when it's so very easily, transparent to see through it. But we're getting quite a lot of texts in, so I'll ask you a few if you're ready to answer a few questions with the great listeners. Cheers for texting in. Tommy, how will the division of debt and the division of oil revenue work? And will they be divided up in a similar manner, if at all? Cheers from Dan. Cheers, Dan.
Well, that question will all depend on how much England plays ball after we vote for independence, to be quite honest. Because if they hold to this ridiculous position, and by the way, I think we should have our own currency, but the English government, or more appropriately the Westminster government, don't have the right to say it's their pound. You see, we entered into a union 1707 and it was supposed to be a union of equal nations. Mm-hmm. So if we entered into that union and we developed the pound, what gives the English the right to say it's their pound, right?
Absolutely.
Now, as I say, I want our own currency, but in the short term, we should be able to use the pound until we get on our feet properly, and then I think we should develop our own currency. If the English government, and they won't, they'll cave on this, because all the English businesses who export to Scotland, who export goods and services, will be saying to the English government, hey, by the way, you think we're going to pay extra to export stuff? Don't you start, give them the pound, we need parity. That's what they'll be saying, no doubt about that. Mm-hmm. But in the outside chance that they didn't, then we should be saying, oh, is that right, we're not getting the pound, we'll see that debt that you've got, you can keep it, we're starting from scratch. And we would be starting without any debt over our heads at all with a new currency. In relation to the division of the oil reserves, they are ours. The oil reserves and resources belong to Scotland. Personally, again, unlike the SNP government, wants to have a new tax regime, and they're talking about maybe less tax for the oil companies. I disagree with them. I think the oil should be publicly owned. I think it's a resource that should belong to the people of Scotland, just like our gas, just like our electricity, just like our trains and our buses. All of these things I think should be publicly owned. But the fact remains that those reserves and those resources are Scottish, and therefore we will be keeping that. The interesting thing is the ratings agency Standard & Poor, which makes a living out of giving governments across the planet estimations of what their credit worthiness is, and that's then used to determine whether banks will lend money to them to spend on things. Standard & Poor said, with oil and gas, Scotland would be one of the richest nations in the world. Without oil, Scotland's credit rating would be AAA. AAA is the top rating. In other words, even if we didn't have oil, because of all of our other manufacturing, we've still got AAA. Now, Standard & Poor, the last time I looked, isn't a red under the bed organisation. It's quite a establishment-based organisation that was given an honest assessment.
Oh, but Britain, what about Britain's 3-star thing that they were always going to keep it? Exactly. So I think we can always hope for prosperity.
Definitely. Sorry, I'm Kieran. Pleasure to meet you, Tommy.
Hi, Kieran.
Aye. It was just something that you were touching on earlier on. It was talking about John Pilger. I actually watched a documentary recently, and it was The War You Don't See, and it sort of brought to light a lot of the discrepancies that have been happening with the government, the British government that's happening just now in it. And it was a phrase that I'd heard mentioned before, and it sort of resonated with me. And it's called the totalitarian tiptoe. And it seems to be that you get these sort of policy changes that you don't think are linked into the bigger picture and see how they affect you, but it seems to be that the Conservative and the Labour governments, they seem to be incrementing these wee benefit, wee bit by bit every year, and it takes it a wee bit off, and nobody questions it because it's not enough to really get riled up about. Aye. But see, over 10 years, or even just a shorter period of time, it really does affect the working man's pocket. And I really do feel that more and more people are realising this nowadays, and especially the 16 to 24 bracket are realising that there's this sort of totalitarian tiptoe. And I would say that, I'm sorry, I'm getting lost here, I would say that the totalitarian tiptoe that's going on, we need to get rid of that. We need to get rid of Westminster. We know what goes with them. We know what they're going to give us. We know exactly what kind of benefits we're going to get. Let's take a chance. Yeah. What you were saying earlier on about hope, I think that's what it represents. It's about looking forward, what we could change. We know what they're going to do with us. We know what they're going to give us. Let's just go for it. Let's
go for it our own way. Sometimes you need to gamble to win. And that's what I've been saying to a lot of people, and we've been reiterating over the whole board, is that people like, what if this, what if that? They're all hypotheticals. We'll never know unless we go for it.
There's always a wee bit of fun, right enough, Stephen, because you've just used a phrase there that takes us back to music. Because one of my favourite bands was Doctor Hook, and of course they had an album, If You Gamble, Sometimes You Win.
There you go.
and on that, it was the absolutely iconic song, If You're in Love with a Beautiful Woman. So there you go. If we've got any music going on later tonight, I want that as well.
Definitely. I've got a wee note of Rod Stewart anyway.
Have you got it, Rod?
Of course.
Brilliant.
Of course.
Could get that on soon.
Get some of that on. Now we're getting some texts and some more concerns about the bass. Now, if the base does shut, I mean, it's affecting people personally, like, there's a lot of families kind of in the Barton area and Hellsbury area that they just don't want to lose their jobs. That's it. How are you convincing the people that a huge industry to them is potentially closing? And just before I finish that as well, is there a chance that, I was speaking to a guy who seems to think that it would remain but be part of Britain still, but not out?
What the plan is in the white paper, and there's a lot of things in the white paper that I want to challenge, and I would certainly be wanting to amend. But in relation to what the SNP are proposing, is that the base would become the centre of Scotland's defence force, and so it would be, effectively the agency for Scotland's defence. In other words, it would still be a base. There would still be cleaning jobs, there would still be transport jobs, there would still be catering jobs, there would still be maintenance jobs. So a lot of the jobs that we're talking about that are in the base aren't going anywhere. That's the reality. The only thing that won't be getting done is nuclear submarines won't be getting maintained any longer. However, that doesn't mean they won't be working on energy conservation projects. They'll be working on wind and wave power turbines. They'll be working in the technology skills that they've got there, but they'll be putting them to more socially useful use. And that's what we have to try and convince people. Now, the truth is, we may not be able to convince them, but I'll tell you what, see a lot of the people that are worried about the jobs going and the jobs losing, this government's getting rid of the jobs anyway. As somebody said to me the other day there, Tommy, what about the shipyards? Are we still going to have shipyards in independent Scotland? And my question is, are we still going to have shipyards if we stay with the UK? That's the reality.
They're not talking about closing.
We've still got shipyards. What I mean? So that's how bad it's getting. I can't even believe.
They're not talking about closing down Govan, but they decided to keep it on until after
the referendum,
just so they had something to hold on to.
Delaying the decision between Govan and Portsmouth in terms of a contract.
It's almost happening anyway.
What they've done is they have, sorry to use the term, bastardised in the proper sense
Absolutely.
of the shipbuilding industry, because what they've done is they've taken away any ferry contracts, any transport contracts. What they've turned it into is nothing more than a drip feed for the defence industry. So the only contracts these shipyards do now is defence. What happened to us building cruise liners? What happened to us building transport ships? What happened to us building modern
That's a fair
fast
point.
ferries?
It's all down the drain.
You know, these
Exactly.
things could all be built in these
I
shipyards.
kind of almost forgot that shipyards made other ships for a second.
Aye,
there.
other than military and
I
stuff,
actually
and that's
forgot
the
about
thing,
that.
they're absolute scum.
Look
That's the
at
only
look
word
at
for
look
it.
at the Clyde used to do. Look at the QE2. Look at the big. Look at the ships.
The
no,
projects
QE2,
we've
what am I
had
talking
in
about?
this
Aye, the
country.
QE2. Sorry, I'm getting mixed up there. I mean, look at the projects that have happened on the Clyde. It's incredible what the capabilities that we did have. Something we could look at. Something we could look at doing again.
If you think about
To
it.
use
Absolutely
use the facilities we've already got.
Now, we've got another text in, and it says, right, yo guys, so the big man is finally on air. It's quite good to myself not getting referred to as a big man for a change. I'm usually... could you please ask Mr. Sheridan what his thoughts are on Scotland still keeping Her Highness the Queen as our monarch if we become independent, and if he could clarify, would we still pay to keep her on the throne or not? This guy is a pro yes. It's another a kind of faithful listener as well. So
my position on it, Steve, is straightforward, and that is that in a modern democracy there is no place for an
Why do you
unelected
need
monarch.
one?
It's, you know, it's so straightforward. I'm a Republican. I believe that we should have a democratic modern republic. I don't think we need an unelected chamber. I don't think we need an unelected monarch. Is it the most important question in the debate? No, it's not the most important question. It's the type of thing we can sort out once we're independent. People who are anti-monarchy, and there are some, I put myself in that category. There's a lot of people, for all sorts of traditional reasons, still think we should keep the Queen and all that. I think they're wrong. I just think it's wrong. However, what I would say to you is, if you hold the view that you want a modern democracy, that you don't want an unelected monarch, okay, that's not what you're voting for on 18th September. But I'll tell you what, you've got more chance of a referendum on monarchy after independence than you'll ever have if we stay within the UK. So that's what you've got to consider.
No, this is it, definitely. What I was just thinking about there was, I was loving what you were saying earlier on the day about participatory democracy and the right of recall. Now, is that something that you can do just now, or is it something that doesn't exist?
It exists just now in some of the states in Brazil. It exists in Venezuela. It exists in some of the American states that have developed a system whereby politicians who renege on promises or do things that they after election that they promised they wouldn't do before an election, then there is a trigger whereby if you can raise a certain number of signatures on a petition for recall, and it needs to, it's not just you go in the street and collect petitions.
No,
it needs to be your polling number and all the rest of it, so that it's genuine. What I'm saying is, why don't we have that here in Scotland?
Definitely.
Why don't we have a situation where every single member of Parliament in Scotland has to sign a contract of employment so that we know what they're supposed to do and they know what they're supposed to do, and if they don't do it, then we can kick them out before 4 years is up. How should they get 4 years? If you get employed in the local McDonald's down the road there and you end up spilling coffee over people 3 nights in a row, they're not going to say, we might get rid of you in 4 years. They're going to get rid of you right there and then. And what we've got to say is it should be the same for politicians. If they're not doing their job, there should be a right of recall. I think that with that level of participatory democracy would improve accountability, and it would improve interest in politics as well. I also would like to see us working on a system where when a party puts forward a manifesto, it becomes a legal document, so that there is some recourse if a party breaks its promises. Like Lib Dems, vote for us before the 2010 or 2011 election. We will never introduce tuition fees. Right, now, how can you allow that? That's what brings politics down. That a party can say that we will never do something, then they get into power and they do it.
Why do they allow it though? This is what I don't get. If you steal a loaf of bread, you might go to jail or that, but you're getting raises if you're swindling billions at our economy. What's going on?
Well, one wee guy I wanted to tell you about. You might have heard this wee story. It was happened in 1996, and there's a wee guy called Philip Green,
Right.
and you probably not heard of wee Philip Green, but you have all helped wee Philip Green, because Philip Green owns the Arcadia Group, and the Arcadia Group owns Topshop, Topman, BHS, Next, Littlewoods. That's all part of the Arcadia Group. By the way, just so that you know this, doesn't that make you realise when they talk about competition, capitalism and all this? They're all owned by the one guy, all these shops, and yet they try and put this pretentious.
Same as the media, that sounds like to me, eh? Big
Exactly.
Murdoch.
Well, wee Philip Green made world history in the retail industry in 1996. He paid himself a dividend, and it was the largest dividend that had ever been paid in retail history. He paid himself £1.2 billion, £1,200 million paid himself. However, he paid it to Mary. Mary's his wife, and Mary got the 1.2 billion dividend, not because he loves her, but because she was registered in the Cayman Islands for tax purposes. So by paying that dividend to his wife, he avoided £400 million worth of tax on that £1.2 billion dividend. Now that would have built several hospitals, that would have employed thousands of nurses, but he avoided that tax in 1996. Guess what happened to wee Philip Green in 1997? He became Sir Philip Green. That's what's rotten with our system. That's a Labour government, by the way. That a Labour government.
Labour, that
around.
means nothing anymore.
So there you go. That's a wee story to ponder.
This is exactly it. The current government we've got now has made it better for big businesses that want to avoid tax. You know what I mean? They've made it easier. They've made it more comfortable.
I'm just realising. I'm obviously had a tired day. I've said 1996. It was 2006
Right,
that happened.
Right.
Oh, even fresher. Why not?
No,
even
it is even fresh. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, no problem at all. Just before a massive economic recession
just
as well.
round the
You know what
corner
I mean?
from us,
If none of the bankers knew that was coming, I would be very surprised. You know what I mean? I know it's crazy, and I think it's strange how comfortable they make it for the big businesses. But I'm just having a wee look through questions here, and we've kind of went over some of the topics that we've already discussed, so I'm not really want to go them to waste any more time. But I seen you at the bedroom tax march in George Square.
Yes,
that was good speech, good speaking as well. A lot of folk that day. But do you think we're starting to gain any ground against these kind of policies, or do you think we're just going to need to, if we don't vote yes, are we stuck with them? Are we able to fight them even if we do? Are they going to be imposed by somebody else if we do vote yes?
Well, you know, it appeared as though sanity had broken out in the Scottish Parliament about 4 or 5 weeks ago, because they announced in the Scottish budget that they'd set aside £50 million for housing associations and councils to claim what's called discretionary housing payment, so that any bedroom tax victim, and let's remember the bedroom tax victims are the poor, that's
Definitely,
what the bedroom tax is aimed at. Any bedroom tax victim who claims discretionary housing payment is entitled to receive it, so in effect they don't pay the bedroom tax.
Right.
My big problem is, why should they have to claim it? Why, when everybody in the housing association knows who the victims are because they've got them on their books, they've got the bill, why don't they automatically give the person the discretionary housing payment? Because what it goes back to is, you Stephen earlier made the point about the level of unclaimed benefits. People are frightened of forms. They're frightened of asking for things. They think they don't know, oh, I can't get it, I don't deserve it. Or they look at a form and they think, no way, I can't fill this in. These forms are complicated, right? So people don't fill them in. They end up getting into debt. Why the hell don't we have a system whereby as soon as you're on housing benefit, you are affected with bedroom tax, you're automatically exempt. That's what's going to happen. And I tell you, see if it doesn't. I think from the 1st of April onwards, what we've got to start considering with people is, because all along we've not done this, but what we've got to start considering is saying to people with the bedroom tax, listen, don't pay it. Don't pay it. Make the councils, make the housing associations come to you and make them give you the DHP. The government's telling you on the one hand, we've got the money, nobody has to pay bedroom tax. Councils and housing associations are saying on the other, hey, you owe us bedroom tax. It's impossible. Both of them can't be right. No,
that's exactly true. I've started working in the last couple of weeks, but up until then I was actually in receipt of the discretionary housing payment and receipt of benefits, so I was obviously suffering, and I lived in a 2-bedroom flat, so I was suffering from that as well. Now, I wasn't in as bad a position as some people who have been affected by it. Some people are in a really horrible situation in 4-bedroom
Also
houses that they've
well.
like all the kids have moved out, so but they're disabled as well. So a disabled person's still being charged for 4 rooms worth of empty rooms. It's like, find the person a house. I never asked for a 2-bedroom house, so why should I then? Right. So anyway, that's the old argument with the bedroom tax.
It's a pathetic argument. It's that point you made. It's like you start a game of football and then halfway through the game they bring on another team to play against
exactly.
you.
Exactly.
They allocate a house on the basis of you fill in an application form. What are your housing needs? Here are my housing needs. Okay, based on your housing needs, we're going to give you that house.
In a mansion.
They gave you that house, and then they come along 6 months later and say, see that house we gave you? You're actually under occupying and we're going to charge you more.
It's
not your fault.
4 years later.
It's not your fault. You know, it is one of the most heinous, horrible, vile pieces of legislation, and it was important that we fought it. However, there's still teething problems in getting rid of it, and we need to get the councils to stop harassing people.
Because what they've done is, by the discretionary housing payments, fine, they're stopping people from having to be suffering it, they're stopping the evictions and stuff. But at the end of the day, all they've done is say, right, there's money to go and pay that, when instead they should just be scrapping the law and spending that saved money on something else again.
Absolutely.
It's
genius.
It's disgusting, but yeah, you think to yourself, like, they've got so many scapegoats and they're so kind of fragmented and apathetic, the kind of general population anyway, then like, how can you possibly change it? How did you get, and along with thousands of other people, don't get me wrong, get that many people to stand up and say, no, I'm no paying the poll tax?
14 million.
Well, I'm no paying it.
I think what's important about the poll tax experience was absolutely the grassroots campaign, ordinary working class people, housing schemes, estates, villages, up and down the length and breadth of Scotland first, because we got it a year before England, but then England and Wales as well.
Exactly the same as the bedroom tax as well.
Exactly. I was elected the chairman of the Scottish Anti-Poll Tax Federation, then I was elected the chairman of the All Britain Anti-Poll Tax Federation. And there was a year of my life where I was hardly in Glasgow because I was just travelling all over England trying to encourage people to join the mass non-payment, and obviously it was successful. But we had a situation there where the single biggest recruiting sergeant, as I said the day at the meeting, wasn't me or anybody else, it was poverty. It was the fact that people couldn't afford to pay. What they needed was some confidence and some leadership. And that's what's lacking in the trade union movement now. We don't have the same confidence, we don't have the same leadership to actually fight the cuts, to actually stand up and be counted. These people are, not only are they walking all over us, but they're wiping their feet on us as well. That's the reality. And it's a pity that there isn't more fight there.
More bottle for some of these leaders.
Some of the leaders, I think, have to have a wee bit more courage and actually get out there and get the sleeves rolled up and get into a wee bit of scrapping. You know, like the Bob Crows, like the Mark Sawaters, like the Arthur Scargills before them. I mean, these are people who had respect because they actually fought the battles that mattered. Now, from my point of view, winning the poll tax battle was obviously a combination of factors: mass non-payment, the involvement of the community, the riots that took place up and down the country certainly helped to make it unstable, because Thatcher couldn't even run her own London without there being riots. In fact, in the day, I don't know if I get time to tell you the wee story, but it's an interesting wee story. 30th of March 1990, or was it 31st of March, maybe? I think it was the 31st of March. It was the first day. It was the first day that the poll tax was introduced in England, and obviously it was a year in Scotland. And we had a demo organised in Scotland. We were marching. I mean, I think you know what a march. We marched from George's Square to Queen's Park away in the south side. It was absolutely massive length. But by the way, there was about 40,000 people turned out. It was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. We went to the bandstand there. And we had bands all playing, Dave Anderson, Hugh and Cry and all that were playing. And there's Big Jack Harvey, big mucker down in London now, he's a joiner. And Big Jack was in charge of security to keep people off the stage and all the rest of it. And I remember him coming up to me and says, Tommy, there's a couple here saying they want to sing. And I'm saying, oh, we've already got our singers, He said, oh, they want to sing. I said, well, who is it? Oh, a guy called Ricky Ross and Lorraine McIntosh. Of course, it's Deacon Blue. they just turned up and they wanted to sing. I mean, that was the underlying element of the poll tax. It spread across. Everybody was against it. We had big concerts against it. It was one of the things that it was the litmus test. Are you human? Yes, I'm against the poll tax. You know, that was it. But what happened that day was we had the demo in the morning in Glasgow, and then I was to go to London to speak at the big demo in London. And the reason there's a wee story to this is because I get whipped away after speaking at Queen's Park, taken to the airport, and I was late for the plane. I thought I was missing it, I wasn't going to be able to get there. But here, got into the lounge, and they'd held it back for 10 minutes. And it turns out the reason it got held back is because my future wife, who I'd been at school with, Gail, was working on the flight, and she'd noticed my name on what they call the ship's papers. She'd noticed my name, she noticed it wasn't there, and she'd says to the captain, would you mind holding it 10 minutes, right? Now, it was just one of the coincidences. Got on the plane, Gail's there, absolutely brilliant. We had a wee bit of chat on the way down. I was taking the mick out because she was doing the what do you call it, aisles clear and belong to this and all that stuff. It was all quite kinky. But anyway, so what happens is we have a wee bit of a chat, and then we arrange. I was coming back up on the flight that night, and we arranged to meet each other. We were going to get together. We hadn't seen each other for years since school, and I was bloody over him, and she was a darling. Lovely hostess outfit and all that. Never mind. I get to London. The place is mobbed. 100,000 people marched that day. Absolutely fabulous. I get into the plinth, get up to the plinth, Trafalgar Square, standing there beside George Galloway, Tony Benn speaking while I'm there. I'm next up. I'm have to speak after Tony. He's absolutely brilliant. Tommy Sheridan, South African embassy opens up, and out comes all the police with the charging with the horses and the batons. I never even got to speak. Riots broke out, absolute mayhem. And of course what then happened is I couldn't go back up the road. I had to stay down and deal with everybody that would get put into prison and all that. So I couldn't meet Gail, and I didn't have her number. So it was a sad day.
Facebook then.
It was a sad day. The new Facebook, no Twitter, no mobile phones, nothing. This was a way back in 1990, so it was rotten. But then what happened is I got put in jail in 92 for stopping the warrant sale in Glasgow, and I won the election for prison. I got elected to Glasgow City Council for Stockton Prison, and I got this wee card for Paris, and it was for Gail. Well done, she says. And then I got another wee card the next week for Miami, and then I got another wee card for Austria, and then I got another. She was taking the piss out of me. She was sending all these cards to all the different countries she was visiting. So we ended up getting together when I got out. So there's a wee romantic story.
That's a good man.
There can't be many that say they were elected for something while they've been in prison, is there?
It's got to be a one and only.
It's quite a notable thing.
So that was kind of brings on to a wee question I've got here. See, George Galloway, what do you think of his rejection of the idea of independence?
Very disappointed in George. George and I go back a long way.
He's obviously shared a lot of the same views and stuff. It was quite surprising.
95% probably that George and I would be on the same platform with most political issues. We're also friends, you know, we're friends. George will tell you the story that when he was threatened with a pindon, poll tax pindon, he phoned me, and we ended up getting people to go and protect George's flat in Glasgow, and we stopped the Sheriff Officer getting in there. He'll also tell you the story, which I often remind him of. I think I tell the story in the video about being at Faz Lane together, and it was a horrible wet morning. We were there for back at 6 in the morning. We're lying in the deck, we're all singing songs with all our arms linked together, and George swears that when it came to the police telling us to move, and we said, we're not moving, we're here, these weapons are immoral, we're upholding international law, under international criminal justice, these weapons have been declared illegal, we're here to disarm them. Obviously we knew we weren't going to disarm them, but it was worth a try. That's what I said in court, and I actually got admonished when I went into court, but there you go, it's another story. But George and I were sitting there, police gave us a warning, we refused to take the warning, and George swears he heard the police saying, you take Sheridan, we'll take the Algian. So he says he realised then it was time to pass on the baton. But I'm dead disappointed in George, because George is very, very forthright in fighting for every other country's right to democracy and freedom, quite rightly, and I back him 100% on it.
Why not his own?
But here we've got Scotland with the opportunity to break what I believe is one of the most reactionary unions in the whole planet. Imperialism, British style, was brutal and bloody. We've got the chance to break it once and for all, and I cannot understand why George, with his background and with his politics, isn't he willing to back that. So I'm disappointed in it. You know, we won't fall out over it, but we will disagree on it.
Absolutely. Now it's just gone 10:15. You're tuned into the Fiery Scots. It's Sunday night. We've got guest Tommy Sheridan on. I'd like to thank you all for the texts and getting interactive with us.
Probably
on our
not
Facebook
able
page.
to read out all the texts.
There's so much going in. The time just zips by. It zips by for us anyway.
Steve, I'm sure some of the texts won't be able to get read out because they're probably quite abusive. I tend to be the type of guy, let's be honest about it. Some people like me, some even love me, but there's quite a few there hate my guts. So at the end of the day, I've had that all my life. That isn't something
not going to change.
It's not going to change. And at the end of the day, you know, I think it was an American politician that said you can't please all of the people all of the time. See the politicians who try and do that, they're plastic and they're phony. What you've got to do, in my opinion, is you stand for what you believe in and let people make their decision. I get all the time, Tommy, I don't agree with you, but I respect your views because at least you stand for what you believe in. If people want to reject that, fair play. I get somebody on Twitter the other day saying, "Oh, I'm going to de-follow you because all you do is retweet things and you're buggering up my timeline and all that." And I say, "Listen, mate, somebody tweets me and I like it, I retweet it. That's just the way it is. Goodbye," and that's the way it is. And I think at the end of the day, you've got to be honest to yourself, lads. If you're honest to yourself, then you can live with yourself. If you can look yourselves in the mirror at the end of the night and know that you've done everything you can, then you'll sleep well at night. And I've got to say I sleep well at night, so not a problem. Listen, it's been a pleasure.
It's been a total pleasure.
As you know, I've been out on most of the day with Gail and the Wayne. I'm sorry I can't stay much longer, but it's been an absolute pleasure with me, and good luck.
Needs to happen again, definitely.
Brilliant, definitely.
Happy to see you're a fiery Scot now.
Absolutely, Tommy. Cheers for coming on.
Okay.
I appreciate you taking an hour.
You got a song request before you go then?
Well,
you can crack on in the car here.
Probably one of my most favourite all-time songs has got to be Labby Sifri, Something Inside So Strong. That's what will see us through 18th of September.
Sorry, Sheridan, everyone. Right, mate.
So Fiery Scots, Pulse 98.4.